James Hinson with Southwest Florida Realty, here with Larry Utterback and Annie Mac Home Mortgage. Welcome, Larry.
Thanks, James.
Can you tell us just a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Well, I'm a mortgage loan originator with Annie Mac Home Mortgage. We are a national mortgage banker. We lend our own money. I'm based out of the Naples office, which is up in the Strand, if you're familiar with that area, off of Immokalee Road. And we've been in the area for about 2.5 years. And just love what I do, love what I get to do.
Thanks, Larry. So, Larry, you are a mortgage banker. So, can you tell our audience that may not be as familiar with mortgage banking what exactly that means?
Well, more people are probably familiar with the term mortgage broker. From the good old days, if you will, of mortgage lending, when you would meet with an individual and you would be seeking a mortgage, and they would have a variety of lenders that they could then reach out to and find a certain product or a certain rate or a certain system that worked best for you. What we do as a mortgage banker is we actually loan our own money. We don't seek funds from outside external organizations, and in doing so, that allows us a lot more control over pricing. It allows us a lot more control over the processing, and it just allows us to provide our customers with a much higher level of customer service.
Great. So, Larry, I know for myself and probably for a lot of the viewers, the most difficult step is that first step. How do you get started with getting a mortgage, and what's the proper sequence? Can you kind of walk us through that initial step?
Absolutely. You know, if I said to you these two words, ready, aim, what would be the third word in that sequence?
Well, fire.
Of course, right. So whereas people coming into the home buying market often start at the second step, which would be not ready but aim, and then they fire by executing a contract to buy a house, and then they loop back around to the first step, which is actually getting ready. And that can be very costly, it can be very time consuming, and really could lead to a lot of disappointment on their part because they may find out that they really don't qualify for the home that they've aimed and fired at, if you will. So what we like to do is we like to actually keep it in the right order, get them ready to aim, and then once they're ready to aim, then they are certainly ready to fire. And by doing that, what we'll do is we'll get their information, we'll run their credit scores, we'll look at their income, we'll determine what their qualifying ratio is. It's called a debt-to-income ratio, and we'll really be able to get very, very close to the amount that they can comfortably go out and use as their target, if you will, that sale price, so that they can aim in the appropriate area of the broad spectrum of houses that are available.
Okay, so if I understand it right, the first step is they need to make sure that they get that conversation with you and make sure the finances are right before going out and looking at the homes and writing those contracts.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, it's like working with any other professional. You don't call a doctor on the phone and say, I am a man, tell me what's wrong with me. Or you don't call your tax accountant, and say, hi, my name is Bob Smith, do my taxes. There's a whole bunch of information and investigation and a whole bunch of detail that has to go into that professional, be it a doctor or a tax accountant or a realtor, for them to do their job properly. And without that ready step, that meeting with a mortgage banker, sitting down, talking about your finances, and myself, I'm what's called a certified mortgage planning specialist, which means I can actually converse with a potential buyer. We can talk about their entire financial strategy, and I can work with them and the rest of their financial team, their financial planner, their tax accountant, their tax attorney, anybody that they have working with them on the financial side, to develop a mortgage strategy that fits well with their overall financial strategy.
Okay, and just to expound on that just a little more, what if they don't have a financial planner? What if they're just getting started? Can those people reach out and contact you as well?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And again, that's part of the service level that I bring. Not only can I speak to them if they don't have a financial planner, I'm not going to talk to them about financial planning things and try to, because that's outside of my scope of practice. But I like many professionals, have a variety of people that I can refer them to. So if there's something in our conversation that makes me feel that perhaps they would benefit from speaking to a financial planner, I have a variety of folks that I can refer them to, and they can have that conversation, which may end up changing their entire financial reality from that day forward.
That's great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So Larry, after they contact you initially and they get that ball rolling, they get that mortgage process going, they need to know that the money is there. So typically that's done with either a pre-qualification or a pre-approval letter, but is there a difference between pre-qualification and pre-approval? And if so, what is the difference?
Oh, that's a good question. There is an absolute difference between the two, but most people use the two terms synonymously, and they couldn't be more different. A pre-qualification is sort of the end product of that initial conversation that I'll have with a prospective client of yours, where we'll sit down and we'll actually take their information verbally primarily, where they work, where they live, how long they've lived there, how much they make, any derogatory credit in their past. So it's all kind of verbal type input, and from that we get their, of course, their run their credit score, and from that we can come up with their debt to income ratio that I mentioned before, and be able to get pretty close to this is the maximum sale price, or if you're targeting in on a particular sale price, yes, you qualify for that, or no, the numbers don't work out right. But we'll be able to come up with that number, and then from that we'll be able to generate what's called a pre-qualification letter. It's a simple letter just stating that they qualify for up to this much of a sale price and this much of a loan, based on X amount down or what have you, and then just a brief list of very generic conditions. Must fill out an application. We have to do a tax transcript request, and just things like that. And that's a letter that I would give to you, give to the prospective borrower, that they could then be armed with to go out and shop for a house, or you could include that with an offer that you're placing on a particular piece of property. Whereas a pre-approval is completely a different animal, in that we would take it to the next level. We would actually ask them to provide us with tax returns and W-2s and 30 days pay stubs and other documentation related to their particular file. So then that information could actually be put in the form of a pre-loan application, really, and could be sent to our underwriting department for review and approval. And from that approval, then they would issue a longer list of what we call the conditions to the loan, that would give you or your buyer a better idea of these are the things that we're going to need if this loan were to actually be processed, as far as documentation, evidence of paying property taxes, let's say on a house that they own somewhere else, or verification of employment, or just things like that that would be needed to actually close that loan. So very, very different. The pre-approval obviously carries a little bit more weight, because it's been underwritten, if you will, by our underwriting department, and they've said if all this stuff is true and have everything, if we meet all these criteria, then we would absolutely loan on this property at this particular sale price. Whereas a pre-qualification is more just general, you're in the ballpark at this dollar figure.
Okay, so it sounds like, just to sum it up, it sounds like the pre-approval is a little more solid, a little more lengthy process, but at the end it is a little more firm.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you. Well, Larry, thank you for coming in today and explaining to our viewers a little bit about the mortgage process. But if you would, can you let them know how they can reach you?
Absolutely. You can call me anytime. My phone number is 239-571-3134. Again, it's Larry Utterback at Annie Mac Home Mortgage. I'm also, my email address is lutterback@annie-mac.com.
Well, thank you again. And remember, for all your Southwest Florida real estate needs, just contact James at Southwest Florida Realty. My number is 239-821-0704. And for all of your mortgage needs, just call Larry. All right, thank you all. Have a great day.